Hello! Good morning, beautiful people. Hope you all are thriving, not just surviving. We have a really big show for you all today. We have a big one because today, out of all the things, we're actually not talking about the Epstein files. And I've usually been talking about them because I'm like, this is so big that I don't want for us to not talk about it. Though I am just taking a deviation for today to talk about what's happening in Texas because this is also important too. And also, I am a huge junkie for political maps when it comes to how all the math works and everything. So I want to use my expertise to talk about how and why Texas is actually gerrymandering. So I work super hard trying to break all of this down. And for those people who are like, yeah, I know what gerrymandering, like I've heard the term, but what does that even mean? We're going to be breaking down what it is, how they're doing it, what we know, what we don't know. And I'm here to just try and give you the best raw information possible. I will share my opinion because this is my page, though I will also just be like, what do you think? What do you think? Now, don't be a jerk. Don't be an asshat in the chat. Cool? Got it. Awesome. So today we're actually going to be diverting the conversation from everything happening with Jeffrey Epstein, which Donald Trump reiterated again yesterday, literally said that everything with Epstein, it's a hoax. It's like, you are the one that built that Frankenstein monster. And now you're angry that people are rightfully calling you out on it? Girl. So, anyway, we are going to be taking a deep dive instead and a deviation into talking from Epstein, and we're going to be talking about Texas today. So please make sure to send some likes, like the stream, tap the screen. I love all of you. So, I don't know what's also been going up with the lives the other day. So I don't know if people are not getting the notifications or if I'm being shadow banned. Let's hope that I'm not. Yeah, right. Yeah, I saw that, Elisa. But please make sure to like the stream. Is there a button where you can like send likes? Because that really does help spread the live, especially early on. So we're going to be doing a big breakdown of what gerrymandering is, how gerrymandering is done, examples of current places that are gerrymandered, and why Republicans are doing this, and what is happening right now. Wow, that's like a 5-step thing. So, step 1, what is gerrymandering? Gerrymandering is when you are purposely redrawing maps in order to favor your preferred party. Right now, in Texas, there is a lot going on with gerrymandering, particularly because the state legislature is trying to redraw the maps for the congressional delegation. Now you're like, okay, that was a lot of words. Basically, you have the state house, state senate, attempting to redraw the maps for the U.S. representatives in Washington that are in the House of Representatives for Texas. And so they're attempting to redraw it to favor Republicans even more. Now, throughout history, you've had both parties attempting to do power grabs through gerrymandering. That is very true. But let me be clear about something. Gerrymandering is not a both sides are equally bad issue. Gerrymandering has been done more and has been highlighted as being way more of a corrupt practice for Republicans. If that hurts your feelings, sorry, facts don't care about your feelings. I will give you an example of a gerrymandered state for Democrats and a gerrymandered state for Republicans, and then I'll talk about what's happening in Texas. I could give you way more examples for Republicans. I really could. North Carolina, Wisconsin was previously gerrymandered for Republicans. They just found a way to get some more fair maps in there. Now Texas. And so I could give you endless examples of how this gerrymandering looks. But let's break it all down here. So I want to give you a couple basic rules on reading political maps, because, and please share this live with a friend, because I work super hard to bring all this information to you. You probably will see, oh, okay, I see these maps. I'm like, I don't know how to read them. I don't know how to analyze them. I don't, want to just trust what this XYZ person is saying about them. I want to look at it myself. Let me give you some basic rules for reading political maps, all right? They will look like this. They will look like this. They'll look like this. They'll have red and blue areas, all of that. The basic rules are that you are going to have the districts and you're going to have the precincts. A district is made up of precincts, okay? Each district has roughly the same number of people in it. And each precinct has roughly the same number of people in it. Now, some districts or precincts look bigger or smaller than others because of population density. For example, you see on this map here, this is North Carolina, you see there are many different red precincts that are bigger, and there are a lot of smaller blue precincts. That is because blue precincts tend to have a higher population density because you have a lot more Democrats, liberals, progressives in the urban centers of any sort of state or area compared to Republicans, which tend to be in the more rural parts, which the reason why it looks so red on a map is because they are distributed over land. Cool? So, let me show you something here real quick. Let me show you. So this is a current map of Texas. You can see, this is the current map, not the proposed one. This is the current one. You can see how there are districts that are very red, and they are much bigger. You see all these smaller blue areas? That's because those are higher population density areas. Again, every district has roughly or equally the same number of people in it. But the reason why you have more red districts or blue districts, or reason why the map looks more red, is because those red districts are bigger. Are we all on the same page? So let me give you some examples of what this looks like in practice. And I'm going to show you my home state of North Carolina. So this is the old map of North Carolina for the House of Representatives. North Carolina has 14, or had 13, and then they added one. This is the old map where it was 13 districts, all right? You have District 1, District 2, District 3, District 4, then 5, 6, 7, 8, one of those was 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I think that's how it went. So this is the old map. You can see there's a lot more blue on there. This is the new map and current map in North Carolina. North Carolina is a state that is gerrymandered for Republicans, just like Texas currently is a state already gerrymandered by Republicans, but they're trying to do it even more. So, I appreciate every single one of you. Please make sure to send some likes. I work super hard. Oh yeah, no, Christopher, I actually will show Illinois' gerrymandering, because if there's one state that's gerrymandered for Democrats, it's Illinois. And trust me, I'm a super progressive Bernie bro, but I will give you all the facts. So calm down your horses. But yeah, so, and it's very important that people understand gerrymandering is done by both parties, but let me be very clear. Gerrymandering is not done equally by both parties. Let me just say that. It's not done equally by Democrats as much as Republicans. Republicans gerrymander twice or 3 times more than Democrats. Doesn't mean it's okay when Democrats do it, but just saying, it's important to note that. The only reason why we're talking about this, and I'm queuing all of this up, is because Texas right now, they're literally trying to gerrymander even further for Republicans. You don't see this kind of stuff coming out about Democrat states. Cool? Got it. D. Payne says that's an outright lie. Just because you don't like it mean it's an outright lie. Facts don't care about your feelings. That all being said, this is the current map for North Carolina. Let me show you how this map is very gerrymandered. Let me just give you some examples here. So starting off, you can see this is District 12. This is Alma Adams' seat. This is the Charlotte area. You can see how one of the popular things to do is to cram and pack as many Democrats. A tactic that Republicans use is trying to cram and pack as many Democratic majority areas into one district. And you say, well, why are they trying to do that? Because they're trying to free up as many other Republicans so that you can add them to all these other districts. So the idea, if you want to gerrymander a state, there are a couple different strategies. What you do is, number one, cram and pack. Pack as many of your opposition into a district so that you can free up other places to maximize your representation. So Republicans do this by cramming as many Democratic-run precincts or Democratic majority areas into one district as they can. Because they're like, we're never going to win this district. We're never going to be able to, run someone competitively there. So why don't we just try and take every single Democrat and put them into one precinct, one area, so we free up all the other surrounding more Republican voters or leaning areas. We can create them as being from swing toss-up to more of a Republican leaning area because we crammed everyone in to that one spot. That's something that they did with District 12. So the previous map in North Carolina used to have District 12 and I don't remember, this used to be Jeff Jackson's district. So there used to be two. Well, what they did was, we can cram as many of these people in to one, and then we have these other red ones around swallow up the remaining Republican voters. So one of the strategies is cramming and packing. So another one is dividing and conquering. So if you want to, instead of cramming and packing, what you could do is say, okay, well, why don't we have 5 different districts just swallow up parts of this very, very deep blue area? That's what Republicans often do. An example is the Winston-Salem-Greensboro area. This is what it currently looks like. This is a higher population dense area. This is Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and High Point. In North Carolina, you can see, again, the basic rules of reading a political map is you can see every single precinct has roughly the same number of people in it. So you're like, well, why is there so much red on this map? Well, just as, again, red precincts tend to be bigger because the people are spread out over land, whereas the blue precincts tend to have higher population density. So you can see here there's a lot of small, very microscopic blue precincts. Those have the same number of people in it. I know, my green screen is awful, okay? Those roughly have the same number of people in it as these bigger red precincts. So again, the rules of reading a political map. Each district and each precinct have roughly the same number of people in it. And the reason why some are bigger and smaller is because of population density. The pattern of Republican voters tend to be rural and Democrat voters tend to be in cities is reflected among the maps here. So going back to North Carolina, you can see this is the Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and High Point areas. What Republicans in the state of North Carolina did in order to gerrymander it, and then we will get to Texas, is that, instead of just lumping them all in, instead of cramming and packing all these people into one district, we might have the ability to swallow up different parts if we get all these different districts to swallow up one chunk. So you have District 9. is all the way jutting out to the rural part of North Carolina, which tends to be very red. And then it's like, oh, well, we'll swallow up parts of the suburbs around Greensboro. Okay, well then District 6 comes in and says, yeah, we'll swallow up a little bit more. We'll swallow up a little bit more. Then this district, I don't even remember what this one is, comes in and swallows up Winston-Salem, but then juts all the way out to part of the country. Then you have District 5, comes in, all this country area, then sweeps down and swallows up Greensboro. Do you see how there's the strategies of cramming and packing and dividing and conquering? Oh, hold on. And dividing and conquering. This is how to gerrymander. Now again, gerrymandering is done by both sides of the political spectrum. Democrats gerrymander, Republicans gerrymander. But let me be very clear, again, and this might hurt your feelings if you don't like facts, Republicans gerrymander twice or 3 times more than Democrats. Doesn't mean it's okay when Democrats do it. So, Texas is currently gerrymandered by Republicans. They're trying to gerrymander it even more. North Carolina, currently gerrymandered by Republicans. Wisconsin, previously gerrymandered by Republicans. Now it's a little bit more fair. Let me give you an example of what it looks like when Democrats gerrymander. The state of Illinois is currently gerrymandered for Democrats. It's just true. Okay? Just laying it out there. And you know what's so funny? I'm bringing all this up. There's not going to be Democrats in here that criticize me for talking about how Democrats gerrymander. You know why? Because people who tend to vote Democratic are way more principled. We welcome in criticism to make our party better. So it's funny that Republicans are constantly like, well, what about this? What about this? I am going to talk about it. But you can't always just try to point out other things when your party has way more things to work on. So anyway, looking at this here, this shows Illinois is gerrymandered for Democrats. And again, gerrymandering is done by both sides of the political spectrum, but Republicans gerrymander twice to 3 times more. You don't like it? Then sorry, you might be the snowflake. Just saying. So you can see let me show you how Illinois is gerrymandered. So this is the Chicago area. You notice all the squiggly parts? You see all the squiggly parts? It looks really, really crazy, doesn't it? Well, here's another part. District 13. It goes from St. Louis all the way up, and this is a larger highway. I forget what highway it is, but it goes all the way up here, and it goes closer and closer towards the Chicago area, if I'm not mistaken. The same way of cramming and packing as I was talking about is what they did in District 13. You see the St. Louis area side of Illinois here. It runs along this highway and swallows up these little townships. So that's Springfield, that's Decatur, and that's Urbana. So as a way to gerrymander Illinois, what they did was swallow up these bluer areas. Meanwhile, they were like, oh, well, we're able to create this district by swallowing up all these Democratic areas, and then we'll just have the surrounding one be the Republican precinct. Meanwhile, if it was a fair map, you would have had more chunks where then it could look different. But the Democrats decided we want to gerrymander that. I'm laying it all out there. Another example here is you have this. This is District 17. It roughly goes along the same kind of trajectory. So now let's talk about Wisconsin before we get to Texas, okay? So Wisconsin is truly a toss-up state, a lot like North Carolina. North Carolina, we voted for Trump in the last election, and we have Josh Stein as governor. So it's important to note that we are a true toss-up state. We are. We have a Democrat governor, we have a Democrat attorney general, we have a Democrat secretary of state. But then yet we vote for Republican senators, we will vote for Republican for president. It's just something that North Carolina does. It's a very interesting thing. Anyway, so voters in Wisconsin were fighting to repeal their gerrymandered map. This is 2022. Now their new map is a lot more fair, where you have the same voters, but you have precincts that are way more representative of the populace. So let me give you an example. So this is the old gerrymandered map of Illinois. Or not Illinois, I'm sorry, Wisconsin. So let me zoom up close to show you what it all looks like. This is Madison. Doesn't that look kind of crazy? Doesn't that look kind of crazy? This is the Oshkosh area. You're like, wait, hold on. How is that? What? Yes, no, you're not misseeing things. Republicans gerrymandered Wisconsin so much that they actually have a district here, and then literally drew these little circles, these little spots around here, and put it in the other district. This gerrymandering is such a sophisticated GIS technology that they gerrymander by the house. Also, let me just do a little PSA in the chat here real quick. Real quick. If you're someone that is trying to divert the conversation with literally homophobic remarks, you might be, it's like you're the beta male. Just saying. Like, if you get so angry, if you get so uncomfortable by my existence as a gay guy, literally just trying to inform and educate you about how this all works, then maybe you're the one that needs to do some inward introspection. Like, I'm flattered if you have a crush on me, okay? I am. Slide into my DMs. That's cool. But there's a lot of people who are always being nasty and rude and gross in the chat, and that's why my moderators have to come in here and do this kind of stuff. So, just wanted to put that out there. Cool? Love it. For anyone that wants to harass me, literally just scroll on. Minding your own business is free. So you can see here how the Republicans gerrymandered Wisconsin, where they literally swallowed certain areas and just put them in that other district. Imagine if Democrats had done that. Like, Democrats gerrymandered Illinois, yes, but they never went to that far of an extent. So, just showing you the brazen nature of these people. Here's another example. This is the Sheboygan area. This is what it used to look like. And you're like, wait, hold on. What are those little dots down there? What are these little dots down there? No, you're not misseeing that. Because those little dots are, they're literally houses that were gerrymandered to be in a state house district that was miles away. So when we're talking about gerrymandering, it's a very sophisticated thing that they do. And again, it might make you upset, but Republicans gerrymander 2 to 3 times more than Democrats. Sorry, it's just objectively a political scientific fact. Just saying. Does it make it okay when Democrats do it? Not at all. I just gave you an example of a Democratic state that is gerrymandered for them. That being said, it's just a fact. The only reason that we're talking about gerrymandering right now is because of what's happening in Texas. So let's actually just go ahead and fast forward to what's happening in Texas right now. So gerrymandering is something that is done in order to then benefit your political party. I am a registered Democrat. I am a progressive, Bernie bro, Zoran Mamdani type of guy, okay? You don't like that? You get uncomfortable over my existence as a person? Great. That's fine. Whatever. Just don't think that I'm a snowflake. Because if you get angry about my existence, that's silly. That all being said, the reason why we're talking about Texas right now is because Texas Republicans are trying to redraw the maps to give them more of an advantage. As I was previously saying, when you look at these political maps, let me just go over basic rules again. Each district has roughly the same number of people in it, and each precinct has roughly the same number of people in it. The reason why some precincts or districts look bigger or smaller than others is because of population density. A common pattern in political science is that urban progressive Democrats tend to be in the city centers or suburban areas, where Republicans tend to be in a more rural area, which means that because Republicans are in more rural areas, you're going to have the map look more red because they are distributed over land. It gives this false idea that we are a redder country than we actually are, because there's a distortion that happens with the map due to population density. If those words went in one ear out the other, don't be complaining and whining about things that you don't know, okay? Cool. So this is the existing map, and this is the proposed map. I know they look very similar. I know they look very, very similar. The way that you can tell them apart is if you look on the right side of the map here in particular, because all of this part is quite the same. But when you look over here, I'll show you the specifics of what changed. You can see the proposed map has more right red districts. These are super red, these are red, that's a toss-up lean, and then these are the blue districts. There's solid blue, and then there's solid like super blue, and then just blue, and then you have these, which are in the middle, which are lean red. So you can see how Republicans gerrymandered this state. There's the same number of the voters are exactly the same, but depending on how you draw the map, you can cram and pack. You can cram and pack your opposition into districts, or divide and conquer, swallow them up amongst other districts. Again, I gave the example of North Carolina. Let me just recover that just real quick so that people understand it, because there's more people that have come in here. A perfect example is North Carolina's 12th Congressional District, where Charlotte resides. So you can see this is where Charlotte is. This is District 12. They've crammed and packed as many of these blue areas into one district. That way they're like, okay, well, we're never going to win that district, but what we sure can do is have all these other blue areas. We can swallow up some of the other stuff around it to the best that we can. And so that's cramming and packing. The other one is dividing and conquering, where you can swallow up as many of your opposition into using different districts. Okay, well, we're going to swallow that chunk. We'll take part of that. We'll take that part of that. We'll take that part of that. It's a way to divide and conquer, because these are all majority red districts now. But what they did was, okay, this is the Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point area. So this District 9 came in and was like, well, we're going to swallow up some of these blue-leaning suburbs that have higher population density compared to the rest of our district. But we'll swallow them up so that we can take away that part of the chunk. The same with District 5 here. Comes in, it's very rural, and then all of a sudden goes down and swallows the blue heart of Greensboro, the downtown area. The same with District 6 over here. Going from this rural part where there's a couple different smaller hamlet towns here that are a little bit more blue, but swallows up some of the suburbia around. Same with this district. I forget which one this is. You following me? There's the cramming and packing and dividing and conquering. So the only reason that we're talking about this is because what they're doing in Texas. So let's finally get there. I hope that all of that background makes a lot of sense for what I'm about to share. Because sometimes it can be like, oh, I don't understand how these maps work. I actually even developed an exercise where I literally have a map that I created with an equal amount of D's and R boxes. And I showed you how you can gerrymander those D and R boxes to create like a map that leans one way or the other. So let's show you what's happening in Texas here. Again, there's roughly the same number of people in a district and roughly the same number of people in a precinct. The reason why different districts look bigger than others is not because there's more people in it, but because they're more spread out over land. So, with that, the existing map and the proposed map, again, has same voters, the same Democrats, Republicans, Independents, unaffiliated, all of that. But the reason why this map is the way it is, what it does is it swallows up more Democrats, cramming and packing them into already blue districts, and then splitting up others to then be swallowed up in majority red districts. So let me show you the specifics. This is the current map of Dallas-Fort Worth. Dallas-Fort Worth is one of the biggest population centers in Texas. I know it doesn't say Dallas on here, but Dallas-Fort Worth, Irving, and Arlington. This area is a huge population center. And then it goes closer towards Plano as well, and Garland over there. You currently have District 30, District 32, and District 33. So there's 3 blue districts. Now, yes, this is already a gerrymandered map in favor of Republicans, might I add. I'm just going to say that again. This is already a gerrymandered map. I'm not a fan, personally, of this map. It is not okay. Just saying. Then you have Austin, San Antonio. This is already gerrymandered by Republicans. The new map is even worse. So, District 35 literally goes all the way from Austin over here down to like San Antonio. That's crazy that you have a squiggly district like that. This is already gerrymandered for Republicans. They're trying to cram as many Democratic voters into a precinct as they can. You see what I mean? District 20, District 37, same idea. This is the Houston area. You have District 9, District 7, District 29, District 18, District 29. This is how gerrymandering works. You have District 29. This is again done by Republicans. They have it all in here, and then it swirls around and goes like down there. That looks crazy, doesn't it? That looks crazy. Now, I want to point out something. District 6 here. Looking at District 6 in Texas, I don't know who is the congressional representative for this, but this is the current map. This is all very rural areas over here. Now, the district goes all the way up where the black arrow is, squiggly arrow. It goes all the way into Irving, Texas. Let me show you why it does that. Texas Republicans, when they made this other gerrymandered map, this is the, I guess, less bad version of the gerrymandered map. The one they're proposing is even worse. Goes through and you see all of these red precincts, these big red precincts. Again, based on political maps, reading them, this precinct right here has roughly the same number of people as one of these tiny blue precincts. Let me say that again. This big red precinct, this big red shape here, has the same number of people as these small blue little chunks. And that is because of the way that we have broken down representation. They have the same number of people, but the reason why the red one looks bigger is because they're spread out over land. Republican voters tend to be more rural. Democrat voters tend to be more urban. That is the pattern that we see. So District 6, Republicans initially drew it to, okay, let's go up here, let's get all of this red stuff, but then let's swallow up some of this blue area so that we can then swallow up more of those voters, that we can have more representation. Cram as many of them into a couple different districts and we will swallow up the rest. That's how they will draw these maps. District 24, very much the same thing. Where you see it's a little bit, it's not as dark red. It's more of a, I guess, a persimmon red. You can see how there's all this red area, but then they go through and dive into some of this blue. But what's interesting about 24 is you can see here that they're actually swallowing up the red parts. So with District 24, they're trying to do as much as they can to swallow up as many red-leaning suburban areas so they're not included with the blue ones. So they're trying to do everything they can to cram and pack with the blue ones, and then they're trying to free up enough Republicans in this area to then create another district for them. You see what I mean? I already talked about Illinois. God, it's so crazy. For the people who watch my live stream every single day, these loudmouth trolls, like, you seriously, I already mentioned how Illinois is gerrymandered. Like, seriously, this is, as an aside, this is what Donald Trump has literally done to America. He has literally popularized the screaming, the whining, the moaning, and the bitching, and it is exhausting. It is exhausting. We can't even have a educated political conversation because there are so many people that are just obnoxious about it. Good God, girl, get a grip. So, going with what Texas has done, the Republicans are trying to gerrymander it even more. There were previously 3 districts in Dallas, 30, 33, and 32. Now, what they're trying to do is cram it into just 2. They're trying to cram all of these Democratic voters into just 2 districts and free up enough so that you can then have majority red districts, but they swallow them up. It's dividing and conquering. It's the second and first strategies. So you're going to cram as many Democrats into that 1 district or 2 districts and free up enough to then have them be swallowed up. The same way that I was showing you all about Winston-Salem, Greensboro. You see all those small blue little precincts? You could easily make that into a congressional district, or even 2. But these red districts come in here, these rural, low population districts, then come in and swallow up some of the blue areas, dividing and conquering. That's what Texas is trying to do. That's what they were doing in District 6. Now they're trying to do it even more with Dallas. You remember how I showed you Austin and San Antonio? Well, there was District 35, District 37, and District 20, and then these 2 other ones. The new map that they're trying to do looks like this, where they only have 2 districts, and they divide them enough so that they can split them amongst all these other places. Or Houston, for example. Houston, I believe, used to have at least 3. Oh, God, wait, it had so many more. District 29, District 18, District 7, and District 9. So they literally eliminated 2 solid Democrat districts, and now they're trying to only make it 2. They're dividing and conquering. They cram as many of the Democrats, knowing they won't ever win this district, into those spots, and then divide up the rest. So, under the proposed map, Trump would have won 3 more districts in 2024. If the 2024 election had taken place with the boundaries proposed back on Wednesday, Trump would have won 30 congressional districts, 3 more than he did in 2024. The changes would create 2 more districts in which white residents, and this is another thing, this map, the proposed one, this one heavily skews white people's representation. So in Shaw, oh God, what was the Supreme Court case? It was something like Shaw v. Reno is the Supreme Court case back in 1993 that said you cannot gerrymander based on race to gain an advantage. That is unconstitutional. It violates the Civil Rights Act. Well, what this map does is it racially gerrymanders. Let me show you. So the changes would create 2 more districts in which white residents make up a majority of eligible voters. And y'all, please make sure to send some likes. I work super hard to provide this information and education. So I hope that many people learn stuff from this live. My live stream only really makes big impacts if people participate and help spread it. So please, please, please make sure to like the stream, share the live. I love all of you. The changes would create 2 more districts in which white residents make up a majority of eligible voters or citizens who are old enough to vote, hiking the number of such districts from 22 under the current map to 24. Meanwhile, just pause. So they're literally creating more white majority districts. Are they adding more white people into Texas? No. But they're redrawing the maps in order to create more white majority districts. It would also add one more additional district where Hispanic residents, the state's largest demographic group, form the majority, bringing the total to 8 under the new plan. It would also create 2 black districts where previously there were none. So let me just show you this here. Right now, white Texans make up 39% of the total population. Hispanic Texans make up 40%. And black Texans make up 12%. But the way that they have drawn these proposed maps is that you have 24 majority white districts, 8 majority Hispanic districts, 2 majority black districts, and the 4 have no majority. They're not only just drawing the map to be more favorable for the Republican Party, they're also drawing it as a way to do this separate but equal Plessy versus Ferguson crap. Drawing maps based on race is so disgusting. It's disgusting. Because, like, I thought we could get past this as a society, but I guess we can't. So, the proposed congressional maps would create 2 more districts where white residents make up a majority of eligible voters. To pick up new seats, Republicans have proposed to pack more Democratic voters into districts in the state's blue urban centers. Yeah, I already mentioned that. Giving Democrats an even bigger margins than they already control, such as those represented by Jasmine Crockett, Joaquin Castro in San Antonio, Representative Sylvia Garcia in Houston. And they're looking to disperse Republican voters from safely red districts into several districts currently represented by Democrats, such as ones held by Johnson and Kassar. So, again, there's the cramming and packing and the dividing and conquering. You draw a map in order to do those 2 things, and you can skew representation even though you don't have, even though you're skewing representation, even though you're taking the exact same population and basically rigging the vote, rigging the way that it's counted. And again, both Democrats and Republicans gerrymander. It's true. Democrats have gerrymandered Illinois. But let me be very clear. Republicans gerrymander 2 to 3 times more than Democrats. Doesn't make it okay when Democrats do it. But for every single Republican that is like, well, Illinois is gerrymandered by Democrats, it doesn't take away from the fault. The reason we're talking about this now is because Texas, which is currently already gerrymandered for Republicans, is currently being even more gerrymandered for Republicans. And you're like, well, why are they trying to do that? I know that they're trying to gain an advantage. Well, because Donald Trump, or as my friend the other day called him, Mango Mussolini, because of that guy, Texas has been trying to trying to redraw their maps to just cram as many more Democratic voters into districts and then free up and create more representation for Republicans in the state. So, yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy. So what they're trying to do is skew the numbers and skew the map so that they can pick up more representation without having to change the minds of the populace. Just saying. This dude is gay AF. You have nothing else positive to say. You have nothing substantive to say about our conversation, to the point where you have to fearmonger about my sexuality. Doesn't that make you the beta male if my presence as a gay man threatens you? Doesn't that make you somehow it's so funny. People get so angry over my existence. Isn't it kind of a sub-beta thing to do, to get so angry about someone else's existence? Like, I am a gay guy that lives in the South, honey. My skin is so thick, it's like a wallet, okay? The amount of harassment that I constantly get on this platform just for my sexuality or my voice or my looks is crazy. I've told people in my life, I'm like, yeah, I get endless amounts of harassment from faceless commenters that, think that they are alpha males. And they're like, really? People still do that? I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like, I'm trying to have a conversation about politics, and they're constantly and trying to inform and educate people and tell them think critically for themselves and all that stuff. And they're constantly stooping so low they have nothing substantive to say other than whining, bitching, and moaning and complaining about my existence as a person. And they're like, what? Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, so anyway. The map drawers managed to move more Republican voters into Democratic districts around Dallas and Houston without imperiling the nearby seats of Republicans Beth Van Doon, Troy Nehls, and Troy Nehls. So both faced competitive races in 2020 before their districts were redrawn in 2021. And by the way, what's interesting to note here is that no Republican incumbents districts were made significantly more competitive. So what they did was they just crammed and packed more Democratic voters into existing Democratic districts, freed up some other areas for Republican districts to then swallow up more Republicans to maximize their representation. This is why gerrymandering is bad. You're literally trying to finagle the maps in order to have more representation without changing the populace. It doesn't matter which party does it. It's bad. It's bad. And Republicans do it way more than Democrats. And here's the thing. There are many Republicans that truly don't care about the injustice. And this is what gets to what I've been talking about the last few days. There are many MAGA Republicans that are way more concerned about trying to promote liberal tiers, or they're way more, like, oh, they derive pain, or they derive pleasure from inflicting pain amongst their political opposition. It's like they're motivated not by whatever is going to help them policy-wise, but they're motivated, oh, well, it pisses off this group, so I'm happy with that. And that's what I was talking about the last few days, where there are many MAGA people who are motivated purely by a form of political sadism. And you're like, well, what does that mean? The term sadism, often used in a personal erotic context, means that you derive pleasure from inflicting pain upon someone else. What we're seeing amongst a lot of people in MAGA is that they are receiving pleasure from watching the brutality towards any sort of undocumented person, depriving them of due process, enjoying and applauding and celebrating when they are being brutalized in a concentration camp like Alligator Alcatraz or Seacot. It's a form of political sadism where they're cheering on the cruelty and brutality of people. They view other people as less than, or they dehumanize them based on the attributes of their identity. Instead of helping them be a part of the country, you demonize them, because they have this inherent feeling that they have to put someone else down to then lift themselves up. It's the same way that I talk about gerrymandering, and you want to know what we need to do? We need to establish independent commissions in order to draw maps so that they are not favoring one party or the other. But let me also be clear about that. You know who's going to immediately reject that? Republicans. Democrats have literally put forward plans to establish independent commissions to draw the maps. You know who rejects it every single time? Republicans. Now, there's some Democrats that will probably reject it, sure. But every single time, Republicans always reject it first. Just saying. Someone says you need to think for yourself. It is so funny. I literally advocate for that day in and day out. Let me just say, it is not my fault if you have the inability to listen to anything that I'm saying. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Hey there, sassy pants. It's just so funny. It's so funny. So I hope that some of that stuff regarding gerrymandering really helps. Again, if you're like, well, what do we need to do? What is it that needs to be done in order to fix this problem? Well, what we need to do is we need to have individual state action. State Supreme Court rulings like the one in Wisconsin, there need to be state Supreme Courts that step in and say, yeah, these maps are unfair. they are racially gerrymandered. In some cases, you've had rulings by courts saying that you cannot gerrymander based on partisanship, which is what we see in Texas, and we also see racial gerrymandering in Texas. We also need independent commissions made up of an equal representation of Democrats and Republicans to then agree upon and draw the maps. Republicans reject that every single time. I would not be surprised if Democrats reject it once in a while. Sure, they're not above criticism from me as a Democrat. Also, the U.S. Supreme Court needs to rule that all gerrymandering be unconstitutional. But see, the reason why we're in this conundrum, as I will point out yet over and over and over, is because Republicans gerrymander 2 to 3 times more than Democrats. Doesn't make it okay when Democrats do it. Not at all. I've given examples. Illinois is a state gerrymandered by Democrats. But that all being said, none of it is okay. But Republicans do it 2 to 3 times more. So if you're one of these MAGA people that's constantly trying to point at Illinois, you know what needs to be happening? Everyone else needs to be screaming Texas, North Carolina, Wisconsin at you. Don't see, and that's one of the things in the Bible. Don't try to point out the speck in someone else's eye when you have a plank in yours. But many different MAGA people are just cultural Christians. They're not actual Christians. They don't actually follow the word. They just try to keep up with the Joneses in some sort of weird Christian culture where they don't actually care about the substance of what Jesus is saying, because Jesus was a woke brown man anyway, but they don't care about that. Anyway, so I need to get to work. I love all of you so much. Y'all are incredible. But anyway, shout out to my amazing moderators. Y'all are incredible. Akicha, Elisa, Ellie, Kate, Joanna Tech, Cantisa. I cannot do any of this without you all. Cherie, y'all are incredible. I love all of you so much. I hope that today's live stream was helpful regarding the situation that's been happening in Texas. I also want to point out that I did take a deviation from talking about Jeffrey Epstein. Because here's the thing. It's important to talk about other things as well, because I had a conversation with one of my good friends the other day. But also at the same time, Jeffrey Epstein, like, Donald Trump has literally called everything happening with Jeffrey Epstein a hoax, when he was the one to run on it. I feel bad for Republicans because you always have to defend a crappy product. You could just think critically for yourself. You don't have to become a Democrat to admit that Donald Trump is literally a disaster for the country. But you know, it is what it is. Anyway, shout out to my amazing moderators. I have to get to work. Akicha, you're amazing. Ellie, Elisa, Joanna Tech, Kate, Cherie, Jenny. I cannot do any of this without you all. Y'all are literally so amazing. So anyway, just remember that you are beautiful. You are loved. Oh, and pause. Make sure, if you're a new person, definitely go and check out my content, and make sure to smash that subscribe button before I end the live, because I work super hard and I appreciate all of you. Just remember that you are beautiful, you are loved, you are valid, you are strong, and you are fierce. Don't let anyone ever dim your shine. I love all of you so much. Bye.